Welcome back. Gas prices are going up all across the country because of ongoing fighting in Iran. President Trump saying Friday that he's looking at easing shipping rules to allow for lower prices.
He would have to suspend the Jones Act, a 100-year-old law that requires shipping between U.S. ports to be done by U.S. flagged ships. The White House is considering waiving that act to ensure energy can get to ports no matter what.
Joining us now, our chief legal analyst, Kelly Frodes. All right, let me start with a poll. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Jones Act. Never heard of it.
Today, no.
Never heard of it until today. This 100-year-old act that's out there. Why would the president want to waive it? What does that process even look like?
Cost, that's the first part. So
Okay.
They're suspecting and projecting that fuel costs, if waived, could reduce East Coast gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel prices by 63 cents, 82 cents, and 80 cents per barrel, respectively. And so I think that's the push to why they're trying to do it. Julian said it in the intro. This enacted in 1920, originally called the Merchant Marine Act of 1920. I love when I look at laws, looking at the legislative intent, like why did they implement this? What reason, during that time, the folks that decided to implement this, what were they talking about? What were we attempting to do? Well, we were just coming out of a war. That's the first thing. World War I, policymakers recognized that for us to be a country that could operate on a national and a global level, we needed reliable domestic merchant fleet. And so we didn't want to rely on foreign, not just foreign ships, but foreign made ships, foreign crewed ships. And so it doesn't just outline United States flagged ships. It has to be U.S. flagged, U.S. produced, and U.S. crewed. That is what a number of folks are saying has been the holdup for a number of years. And so there is a carve-out. Because this is an act that was passed by Congress, there is a carve-out, a waiver, if the government, specifically the president, can point to national security. If he can show that this is a national defense issue, then there is a cutout, a carve-out within the statute that allows it to be paused momentarily for that. I just am not sure if the courts are going to buy that this is that gas prices, specifically lowering fuel prices, is national defense.
So the Homeland Security Secretary will be able to issue this waiver. What does that process look like to prove, hey, this is something that we need to waive in order to get oil to U.S. ports?
Well, again, it's going to be him, but it's going to be through the president. So that someone, and states are already saying they're going to do this, specifically California, is going to challenge any type of waiver like that, because you have a number of approaches. First of all, you have the Administrative Procedure Act, so it has to be some administrative act where you have notice, hearing, an opportunity to be heard, that rulemaking process where folks will be able to, weigh on if they want something like this to be implemented. You'll have the separation of powers concerns where you have each individual branch of government now trying to, force the other branch to do something. But then you have the federalism versus state issue where you have the federal government now telling states like California and other states that have raised concerns that now your individual state has to remove these requirements that have been there for years. And so these are the things that I think will be the pushback to that. But the first step is someone has to say this is going to be, waived. Either the president or the executive, someone through the executive branch will do it, but I believe it will be challenged instantly.
Okay, so challenge instantly. Let's continue to go down the crystal ball here. If it's challenged instantly, though, do you see a temporary injunction on it, or how would this play out? Because while this is being challenged, it would still have to work its way through the courts, right? So in the meantime, these unflagged ships, or not American ships, would be able to work in the interim, or how does this all play out?
That's going to be a hard one. I mean, obviously, you guys know the standard for an injunction: irreparable harm, likelihood of success on the merits, balancing of the equities in the public policy.
Right.
I think the likelihood of success on the merits would lead to the states. I think it would go against the federal government from attempting to do this. But I think the injunctive standard in terms of irreparable harm, you can throw money at this, you can fix this. So I don't think an injunction would be granted, because again, it's an extraordinary relief. Courts don't want to give injunctions. So I don't think, even though they have all three of the other factors, you don't want the federal government telling states what to do either. So I think that public policy argument would again be in favor of the states, but the overarching one, irreparable harm, would be in favor of the government, because they can say, hey, well, if you don't like this and we're costing you some economic harm, which that would be the argument, we can just pay you once this is ultimately resolved a year.
So it could be another tariff situation where they end up owing money after the fact.
Exactly. And if you go look back at the tariffs, you only had a couple of times where they stopped President Trump from implementing the tariffs just because he was attempting to use it with the national defense, the economic powers, as opposed to using those other three that he allowed to go through. So if they can find the avenue there, their path, theirs in the government's path, the federal government's, is national defense. If you can point to there is that lowering fuel costs is national defense, then nothing can stop it. Regardless if anyone files a claim, their likelihood of success would be low because they can point to national defense, but they will have to be able to prove that.
All right, Khalif, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.